Good morning, students. Today we will study the economic importance of rice. Rice, the botanical name of rice is Oryza sativa, belongs to family Gramineae. Historical aspect: rice cultivation had its origin in China about 2800 BC. Sowing of rice was a religious state affair in which the empire himself took part. In India, also, rice cultivation had its early root and was known as a dhanya, meaning the supporter of or nourisher of mankind. It is used as a votive offerings in many religious and marriage ceremonies. Over 85% of the world rice is grown in China, India, Japan, Pakistan, and their neighboring parts. China and India produce about 50% of the world rice supply. Morphological characters: the paddy plant is an annual grass attaining a height of about 2 to 6 feet. The stem consists of 4 to 8 hollow internodes, fully or partially covered by leaf base or leaf sheath. Branches or tillers develop from the lower node of the stem. The inflorescence is represented by a panicle or spikelet, and each spikelet consists of 1 to 7 florets enclosing in a pair of glume bracts. The fruits is typically a caryopsis in which the testa is fused with the pericarp. The seed or the grain enclosed within the brown husk is referred to as paddy or dhan. Varieties of rice. Rice has been grown from thousands of years under varied kind of environment, which has led to evolve a multitude of forms and varieties. Now the cultivated rice of the world can be broadly divided into three varietal groups: Indica, Japonica, and Javanica. Japonica group include variety from China, Japan, and Korea. The Indica variety was characterized by profuse tillering, broad light green leaves, usually sensitive to the photoperiod, having grain dormancy, susceptibility to threshing, cylinder flat grain, awnless nature, and thin and short hair on glume. The Japonica variety was characterized by the moderate trailing, narrow, deep green leaves, sensitive to photoperiod, do not have grain dormancy, resistant to shattering, short, roundish grain, unless too long on, and dense and long hair on glume. Javanica varieties are more or less intermediate between the two other varieties. Climate and the soil. Rice is characteristically a tropical plant as it requires hot and moist climatic condition. A temperature range from 20 to 25 degrees required by the plant during its growing stage, and bright, warm and sunshine is must at the time of maturity. The water requirement of the plant is high, so much so that the seedling need to be submerged under 15 to 20 centimeter of water after 60 to 90 days of sowing. Rice grown best in a region having 120 to 150 centimeter of the annual rainfall and is a alluvial or clear loam soil with a high nitrate content. Cultivation: rice crop is cultivated under wet or low land, dry or upland and semi-dry condition. The wet rice variety, popularly known as the Aman, has a lifespan of 140 to 170 days duration and is grown in a low area with a plenty of water throughout the year. The upland rice, also known as the As, grow in rain-fed areas with a 90 to 120 days duration, whereas the semi-dried rice or the boro is grown as an intercrop. Rice cultivation follows a double crop practice, that is, a short duration rice is followed by a medium or long duration variety, or vice versa. Depending on the season and availability of water, the rice crop thus grow under a variety of ecological conditions involving a number of interesting and intricate problems of physiological adaptation. Cultivation involves sowing, harvesting, and threshing. Sowing. Prior to sowing, the field are ploughed thoroughly and then the seeds are sown in a seed bed. The temperature requirement for germination range from 6 to 47 degrees centigrade. Rice seed can germinate under the anaerobic condition when the plant are 9 to 10 inches tall. They are transplanted to the field where they are flooded and completely immersed in water. Os or the upland rice day neutral variety is shown in May to June. Or the lowland rice short day variety is sown in June, July, and Boro is sown in December, January. Harvesting. On maturity, the plant turn yellow and are harvested. Os Os variety is harvested in September, October. Aman variety is harvested in November, December, whereas Boro variety is harvested in March, April. The plant are harvested by cutting their stalk and piling them up for drying. The grain are kept intact within their husk and are separated only before use. Threshing. The grain enclosed within the husk is commonly known as the dhan. For domestic use, the dhan is threshed by plowing the husk grain with a wooden mallet and then winnowed. The resultant grain, though somewhat coarse, had a high nutrient content of protein, fat, and starch. Commercially, rice is prepared by threshing and winnowing machine and finally scored, polished, and graded. The rice, though fine, loses its outer nutritive content. Thank you.